Hey, what's up, you amazing hackers? Hope you're all doing well today. So, I was scrolling through the news and I found this piece here. The biggest hack in history. Australians scrambled to change their passports and driver's license after Optus telco data debacle. So, what is Optus, you might be wondering? Optus is a telco provider, just like we here in Europe have big providers. America has big providers. Australia has a big one too. Optus Data, multiple ones. But Optus has been the target of attacks, let's just say. Now, I want to talk about what happened today because claiming to be the biggest hack in history is quite the feat, of course. This wasn't a sophisticated attack at all. So this shows you that it's really easy to fall prey to these stupid things. Now, as a developer of a website, I know how easy it is. I've left stupid stuff in my own website, and of course, it falls up to me. Like I am a very small, I'm a one-person team. I have my team, but they're all volunteers. The only person who puts paid time in the website is me because it's my own paid time. But that being said, I make mistakes. I make dumb, stupid mistakes. But I don't have the budget to hire a whole security team. Now, you might say you're a security engineer yourself, yes, but testing your own code 50 times over, you miss things the 50th time. It's as simple as that. Having somebody else test it for 50 times, good luck getting to do somebody to do that for free. These days you have to pay them, which is logical, of course. But that being said, I'm not a huge telco provider, so let's get into this, shall we? Governments say telecommunications giant left the window open for an unsophisticated attack that could lead to European-style privacy laws. When Amy Hunting first heard about one of the biggest cyber attacks in Australian history, she immediately checked to see if her personal details had been compromised. She realized that, as a customer of the country's largest telecommunications provider, that is, Optus, there was a fair chance she was one of about 10 million people whose information had been hacked. But at first, there was no communication. Eventually, she got an email saying she had been caught up in a breach, which exposed 1 in 3 Australians to the risk of identity theft or financial fraud. 1 in 3 Australians. A third of a whole freaking country, my friends. With millions of others, she went about trying to change her driver's license. She even had a bar put up on her own credit report to stop anyone from trying to open a new account in her name. We're really careful about our data, she says. I was really frustrated. They're a big tech company. It's frustrating and surprising that they are so laissez-faire, Jesus, my French, with their data. Also, they took their time in informing us. The alleged hacker, who threatened to sell the data unless a ransom was paid, took names, birth dates, phone numbers, addresses, and passports, healthcare, and driver's license details from Optus. Holy crap, the country's second largest telecommunications provider. Of the 10 million people whose data was exposed, almost 3 million had crucial identity documents accessed. 3 million people. Wow, my heart bleeds when I read that. Across the country, current and former customers have been rushing to change their official documents as the US Federal Bureau of Investigation joins Australia's police, cybersecurity, and spy agencies to investigate the breach. The Australian government is looking at overhauling privacy laws after it emerged that Optus, a subsidiary of the global telecommunications firm Singtel, had kept private information for years, even after customers had cancelled their contracts. It is also considering a European-style system of financial penalties for companies that fail to protect their customer data. As it should, in my opinion. Customer data is one of the most important, crucial aspects that there is, which is why, like, from now on, we are going with like a separated design as well, where customer data, all of that is in a separate database, or logic is in a separate database, or login is in a separate database. Keeping everything separated is great, but keeping data for years, even after people cancel their contracts, why is there no law against this? I wonder. It's all, let's see, an error-riddled message from someone claiming to be the culprit and calling themselves Optus Data demanded a relatively modest 1 million US dollars for ransom for the data. That's not a lot of money. If you imagine how much money you can ask for each of those records, I think the last numbers were between like 75 and $80 or 60 and 80. I don't know the exact numbers, but it's somewhere around that range per record. And if 3 million people had their crucial data accessed, you can already calculate that. The demand was followed by a threat to release records of 10,000 people per day until the money was paid. A batch of 10,000 files was later published online. As Optus and the federal government dealt with the fallout, the alleged hacker had a change of mind and offered their deepest apology. What the fuck? Too many eyes, they said. We will not sell data to anyone. We can't, if we even want to, personally deleted data. So, like, again, this data that has been deleted can be sold. So, if Optus chief Kelly Bayer Rosemarin initially claimed the company had fallen prey to a sophisticated attack and said that the associated IP address was out of Europe. She said police were all over the apparent release of information and told ABC Radio that the security breach was not as being portrayed. Experts have said Optus had an API an application programming interface or an API online that did not need authorization or authentication to access customer data. Any user could have requested any other user's information, Corey J. Ball, senior manager of cybersecurity consulting for Moss Adams, said. Guys, that really freaking terrifies me because you know what happened here? Unauthenticated API, they just have an API open. You can request data from there. You don't need anything. That's terrible. That's horrible. But it happens all the time. I know a lot of applications where we've gone in, we found shadow APIs, for example. These shadow APIs are not known by the company, but they exist and they are out there in production unauthenticated. That is a big risk, especially if the company doesn't know about it. Now, how that happened, you might be wondering. Well, a developer wanted to try something, they made a little bit of an API, and it snuck into production. So that API was there for a while. That API apparently had existed for over a year and a half without anybody noticing. That is scary. That is really freaking scary. Anyway, Rachel Falk, chief executive of the Cybersecurity Cooperative Research Center, said while much was still unknown about the attack, sometimes even amateurs get lucky. They are outstanding hackers, often nation states who really good at this. Invariably, it doesn't take much to find a weakness, a vulnerability, a soft spot, she said. Yes, exactly, and that's the thing. If an attacker wanted to attack something, they're not going to go for the strongest link, they're going to look for the weakest link, they're going to look for that unauthenticated API. And of course, you're going to bash and hammer at everything you're going to be able to find. But I don't know, like a while ago, a huge thing was leaked as well through just source code of like HTML pages. What the hell's going on? Anyway, or they can literally be a person in a basement, a person who likes to tinker on the side. Do all hackers have to be basement dwellers? No, just kidding. Of course, this text doesn't state that, but like, I get what they're saying. It really doesn't matter. It can be somebody like me, somebody like you, who is more considered amateuristic level compared to nation-state attacks. It can be both. But even like nation state attackers, they'll go for the weakest link. So they're not going to go for maybe you directly, but they might go for one of your suppliers or somebody who takes data from you. And they might try to attack that instance. Optus left the window open. The cybersecurity minister, Claire O'Neill, has questioned why Optus had held on to that much personal information for so long. She also scoffed at the idea the hack was sophisticated. What is of concern for us is what is quite a basic hack was undertaken on Optus, she told ABC. We should not have a telecommunications provider in this company which has effectively left the window open for data of this nature to be stolen. Asked about Rosemary's comments that the attack was sophisticated, O'Neill said, well, it wasn't. On Friday, Prime Minister Anthony Albanese said what happened was unacceptable. He said Optus had agreed to pay for replacement passports for those affected. Still, it's a huge hassle you have to go through to get your passport replaced. And like here in Belgium, if you get your social security number leaked, I don't even know if you can get that replaced. I have no idea about that, to be honest, but I highly doubt it. On Friday, Prime Minister Anthony Albanese said that. Oh, sorry, that was already read. Australian companies should do everything that they can to protect your data, Albanese said. That's why we're also reviewing the Privacy Act, and we're committed to making privacy laws stronger. Good, finally, good. More people should be looking into this. Now, of course, it's a Privacy Act. It's about laws. It's about like probably something lawyers should be looking into. So I don't know. It's already a niche, but it's good that we have a lot of lawyers that are fighting for our freedom already. I just wanted to say I'm not saying that there's not a lot of people already looking into this. I'm really, really glad we have lawyers looking into our privacy and protecting us and stopping stupid acts from coming true. But still, this is something that should be taken more into account as we move into a world which has much more cybersecurity related issues because we're just growing much more heavily. We're reliant on that IT infrastructure these days. Uh, so we really have to be careful that as we increase our reliance on that IT infrastructure, that we also increase our budget for cybersecurity along with it. The Australian Information Commissioner is also investigating. Commissioner Angeline Fogg said companies must take reasonable steps to destroy or de-identify the personal information they hold. Collecting and storing unnecessary information breaches privacy and creates risk, she said. Australia currently has a $2.2 million limit on corporate penalties, and there are calls for harsher penalties to encourage companies to do everything they can to protect customers. In the EU, the General Data Protection Regulation means companies are liable for up to 4% of the company's revenue. That's GDPR. Optus's revenue last final year was more than $7 billion. Wow. On Friday, the Australian Federal Police announced a special operation to protect the identity of the 10,000 victims whose details were already published online. So that's good that the Federal Police is taking action. AFP Assistant Commissioner Justine Gao said the operations would supercharge their protection against identity crime and financial fraud. In its recently published annual report, Optus's parent company, Singtel, touted its ability to protect against data theft and cyber attacks. We value the privacy of our customers' data stored within our networks and systems as they may be harmed if their data is compromised or misused, Singtel said. We have in place appropriate safeguards and controls to ensure the security and protection of our customer data. And besides that, we also have an API completely open, but we're not going to be talking about that. So I'm not going to read this complete statement for you. Names have been changed apparently. It's a great piece. I'm going to copy it and put it in the description below. If we hear the biggest hack in history come out so often, I just wanted to read this to you guys because I do think that a third of a country being exploited or being impacted is quite a big hack. So I do agree, and it seems like the biggest hack of all time is happening every single day these days, with millions going missing on cryptocurrency blockchains, and data being stolen left and right. I don't know if you guys heard this, but like a little bit ago in India is currently rising in when it comes to IT infrastructure, and of course, cybersecurity isn't really as instated as it is over here. That means that a lot of those companies are vulnerable to specific attacks, which is a really bad thing because, of course, India is a big country. They have a lot of companies, and that makes it statistically more likely that data is going to get leaked somewhere. So that's what I mean. Like as we grow our reliance on cybersecurity infrastructure, we should always take into account that cybersecurity should rise along with it. Thank you very much for watching, my amazing hacker friend, and I hope I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.